Acts chapter 9. Verse 17 of Acts chapter 9, Good News Translation says, So Ananias entered the house where Saul was, right? Placed his hands on him. Verse 20 says, he, meaning Saul, who would become Paul, went straight to the synagogue and begun to preach that Jesus was the Son of God, right? So it's simple. Paul entered this house blind and came out preaching. Okay, let's try it again. Paul entered the house blind and came out preaching. All right, so I want you to put in the thread, and those who are here, I want you to put in the thread, those who are watching, this. Who's going in ain't who's coming out. Just put that in the thread. Who's going in ain't who's coming out. I want you to put in the thread, I've got to see bigger. Well, how does this happen? It's simple. I'm not the smartest guy, so I know if I see it, you've seen it before me. Here it is. It happens because of process. I put that in the thread, process. And what's amazing is that for me, someone who is a process theologian, what's amazing for me is the fact that process is really about God's willingness to walk you through steps and stages that will ultimately birth something that can never be reversed. Because at the point that one goes through process, one cannot return to a lesser place because the process has produced something that now is a desire because of what has occurred in the steps and the stages that were necessary for the maturation of the person. And here's what's incredible. When you go through process, it doesn't matter what people say about you because their opinions mean nothing at the end of your experience. Okay, yeah. I don't want to, okay. So what's so amazing for me is that God, and this is where some of you have done yourself a disservice because you keep watching people who appear to get it quicker or quickly. And what you don't understand is that no one that God uses is ultimately a singular moment. They are the continuation or the continuum of experiences that grows them. And what many of us miss and mismanage and misunderstand is the fact that your process is a requirement to your greatness. You will never be great until you go through some stuff. Look at Jesus. Jesus didn't just end up as the Son of God. He had to go through the 9-month birthing process, and then he had to go through 30 years of obscurity. We only know one experience of his life, which is at the age of 12. The rest of his life is lived in obscurity. He kind of comes on to us at the age of 30, and for only 3 years, which means 90% of his life was lived in anonymity. This is what's deep. Some of you want God to make you famous before you become mature. And what many of you have missed is that the genius of God is that he protects you from your ambition by giving you a process that grows you on your way to your assignment. So what God does is give you a process. Stop fighting the process. I just put that in the thread. Stop fighting the process. Stop disliking what's necessary for you to be what you're supposed to necessarily be. That's why I love this text. Because honestly, what I see in the text is process. Follow my kind of warped homiletical mind. Here it is. And so Saul is on his way to persecute the church. We know this. My dad preached this sermon, this text hundreds of times when I was a little boy growing up in the Abyssinia Baptist Church, and he talked about the Damascus Road and how the Lord knocked him down, right, and blinded him, right? So he's blinded, right, on his way to fulfill what he thought was his purpose. Okay. On his way to fulfill what he thought was his purpose, God blinded him. On his way to do what he thought he was supposed to be doing. You want to know what the frustration is with God? Is that he can be intrusive. He can interfere with our plans by putting us in what appears to be a season of paralysis, but is really a season of purpose.